Hello, everyone. We are going to start with another lecture of performance management. And in this lecture, we are going to deal with the first question of target costing. So, if you haven't seen the introductory video of target costing, I urge you guys to go and watch that video because before watching that video, you will be struggling in this question, right? So, let's just start with the requirement first, right? Let's see what is the requirement, and then you'll read the question so that we can have a better understanding of question that what is required from us. Briefly describe, briefly describe in the sense you don't have to write much about anything. Briefly describe the target costing process that the company should undertake, right? So this is the first requirement. What you can do, you may pause this video and try to think for a while what you are supposed to do in this part. Yes, we have to write those steps which we have identified, that identify it, do a market research and then target our selling price, then reduce the profit in order to calculate targeted cost, and then identify cost gap and try to eliminate that cost gap. So we just need to write all those points. Simple. Then it says explain the benefits. Explain the benefits to Edward Company of adopting the target costing approach at such an early stage of the production process, right? That is for 4 marks. Then it says assuming that cost gap was identified in the process, right? Is you just have to assume that a cost gap has been identified. Outline possible steps that the company could take to reduce this gap, right? That is for 5 marks. uh See, examiner don't ask these kind of question. Costing questions in section and in constructive response question. But still, I believe if you just want to practice that point, that how much you should write. If a question like this is of 5 marks, then you should write 5 ways to reduce the cost gap, right? You just need to build up a practice. That's okay, fine. This is not required. Examiner will not ask you to write these questions, answers, but still, if that is required, how much you have to write, right? Because that is going to help you in performance measurement part. Edward Company assembles and sell many type of radios. It is considering extending its product range to include the digital radio. So we are going for another kind of radio, another type of radio. These radios produces a better sound quality than traditional radios and have a large number of potential additional features not possible with the previous technologies, such as station scanning, more choices, one-touch tuning, station identification text, and sound identification text, etc. So we are offering some multiple new facilities to the customer which were not present in the previous kind of radio. So that is a new product in the market, probably. Not probably, that is a new product in the market. A radio is produced by workers assembling a variety of components. Production overheads are currently absorbed into the product cost using assembling our basis. The company is considering a target costing approach for its new digital radio product. So you just need to identify what kind of steps are required. So that is, we have said that, in this part, you just need to explain those steps required in target costing, right? That, or you will find all these steps in notes of target costing, right? And you have to explain the benefits, right? So this is also present in your notes, but let me try to give you a basic idea. You may pause this video and try to think for a while that what kind of benefits company can gain. Now, see, the most important benefit is that unnecessary or non value added cost can be eliminated at the start of production process, right? This is the first benefit. Now, suppose if you started manufacturing of the product, and after manufacturing of 5,000 or 10,000 units, you came to know that there are few costs which are extra costs for the company, right? So then you will think to reduce that cost, or then you will think to eliminate that cost. Since we have a pressure in case of target costing for cost reduction, so that thought, I mean, something which we will think after 5,000 or maybe 10,000 years in normal costing system, that we will start thinking at the beginning of the production process. Because once you start the production, right, you usually tend to concentrate more on the production, and the kind of design which you have finalized, you continue to manufacture that design, because you do arrangement according to the design and structures of the product. You cannot, I mean, it's very difficult for the company to change the design of the product in the middle of the production process. After processing 2,000 or 3,000 units, we are thinking that, oh my god, we did something wrong, and now we shall change the design of the product. So it's really very difficult for the company to do that practically. So it's better to identify that issue, those issues at the starting of the production process, and that we can do by, giving some pressure to the production manager in order to think for the better product. And what else we can do? We can identify a selling price at which company is Edward na? At which Edward can sell maximum units, maximum sets, maximum radio sets to the customer, right? There was a question which a student asked from me while we were doing this question in the class. He said that, ma'am, you said that target costing, for the application of target costing, we need to identify what our competitors are selling, and then we consider the selling price of competitor, and then after considering that, we usually try to fix a selling price which is lower than the normal market price. I said yes. Then he said that, look, target costing is basically follows the market selling price, but this company is manufacturing a new product, right? So how can we identify that what selling price will be feasible for the company, and what selling price we should have in the market? So I said that look, there are two things. The first thing is that a similar product is already available in the market. A close substitute is available in the market. So if a close substitute is available in the market, you have to consider selling price of that product if you really want to set a targeted selling price for your product, if you want to get a benefit from price perspective. But if your product is new, right, and if no other similar product is selling in the market, for example, there was a product some times back where a new concept has been developed, and that concept was convertible laptops, right? Laptops can be converted into, tablets. So that is a new concept in the market. So if company is selling that kind of new product in the market, then what targeted selling price it should focus on? At that particular point of time, you must consider what selling price is acceptable by customer. Because if you fix a selling price which customer is not willing to pay, then your product may get flopped. See, if someone offer me that they are selling a convertible laptop, and the price of convertible laptop is around 2,50,000 Pakistani rupees, then from me it's going to be an expensive product, right? So probably I will not be willing to spend that much amount of money on a laptop, on a single laptop. Rather, I will prefer to buy two gadgets separately, because that's going to be more convenient for me, and the kind of security situation we have, obviously we cannot afford here. So we will not be willing to buy. But if someone asks me that, okay, fine, look, we are launching a convertible laptop for 1,20,000, 1,30,000, then okay, fine, it's acceptable. In that case, 120, 130, 140 is acceptable. So you will carry out a survey in order to identify that whether the selling price which you are going to charge for a very new product is acceptable for customer or not. So targeted selling price will be, target costing will be acceptable, will be applicable in that case as well. Right. So that's just a thought and came into my mind that someone asked me the question. So I thought, why not share it with you guys? So these are two benefits which come, which we can have from adopting target costing at such an early phase of the life of the product. Then it says, assuming a cost gap was identified in the process, outline possible steps Edward Company could take to, assuming a cost gap was identified in the process, outline possible steps the company could take to reduce this gap, right? So I personally believe that before attempting this question, I mean before attempting the C parts, let's not attempt part C before attempting part B, part D, because in part D you have information regarding this product, right? Or if you really want to attempt part C first, then you should read what is given in the next part. So you have to read this whole part before attempting this question, because before attempting part C, because part C is actually connected with this part. If you will not read this part, you will be recommending the company general steps to the company. But if you read this part, you will specifically address to the issues of company, right? So let's start reading this requirement. It says calculate the expected cost per unit for the radio, right? This is a very typical requirement of target costing. And identify any cost gap that might exist. Might exist in the sense that question the examiner said that look, it's not necessary that cost gap will exist. In case you calculate and there is no cost gap, that can be a right solution, because there is not it's not necessary that cost gap will arise. Usually this is something which usually this is something which is usually in students mind, that whenever the target costing questions will come in the paper, we always find some targeted some cost gap, right? So that is not that's not all the time situation, that's not the situation all the time, right? So let's start with this question. A selling price of 44 has been set. A selling price of 44 has been set in order to compete with a similar radio on the market that has a comparable features to Edward Company's intended product. So what is 44? Is this a market price or selling price? Selling price, right? This is not in fact selling price, this is the targeted selling price, right? And what is targeted selling price? That is $44, right? Now, the board have agreed that the acceptable margin after allowing for all production costs should be 20%. Margin means what? Profit is based on cost or selling price? Selling price, right? So profit is what? Profit is 20% on cost. Sorry, 20% of selling price. So 20% of 44, that makes what? 44 times 20%, that makes 8.8, right? So what will be the targeted cost in this situation? 35.2, right? This is the target cost. You have to manufacture your product in less than $35.2. If you can manufacture your product less than 35.2, there will be no cost gap. If you manufacture your product for more than 35.2, maybe 36, 37, 38, then definitely there will be a cost gap issue, right? Now, cost information for the new radio is as follows. Component 1. Component 1 is a circuit board. These are bought in and cost $4.1 each, right? And they are bought in the batches of 4,000 and additional delivery cost of 2,400 per batch. So what is 2,400? 2,400 is the additional delivery cost. You may refer it as a transportation cost. Now, what will be the transportation cost per unit? Can we calculate that? Yes, we can calculate that. So we'll do it later when we will do the question, we will do it in that part. Then it says component wiring. In an ideal situation, 25 centimeters of wiring. This is an important part. 25 centimeter of wiring is needed for each completed radio. However, there is some waste involved in the process as wire is occasionally cut to the wrong length or is damaged in the assembling process. Edward Company estimates that 2% of the purchased wire is lost in an assembling process. Wire costs $0.5 per meter to buy. Right. You may pause this video and try to think what this component 2 is saying. See, it's simple. 25 centimeter is required and 2% is a normal loss, right? So we'll adjust normal loss there. Other material cost is around 8.1 per radio. So it's simple, right? Now, assembling labor, these are skilled labor who are difficult to recruit and retain. The company has some more staff of this type than needed, but is prepared to carry this extra cost in return of the security it gives to the staff of this type. Uh, security it gives the staff of this type than needed, but is prepared to carry out this extra cost in return for the security it gives to the business. I think I'm mixing something. Yeah, it's fine. Now, it takes 30 minutes to assemble a radio and the assembling workers are paid 12.6 an hour. Right? Now, it is estimated that 10% of hours paid to the assembly worker is for idle time. Right? So there is an idle time issue here as well. Now, what the other part is saying, production overhead in recent historic cost analysis has revealed that the following production overheads data. Total production overheads for the first month. For the first month, overheads were 620,000 and 19,000 were the assembling hours. In month 2, there were 700,000 overheads with 23,000 labor hours. Fixed overheads are absorbed on an assembling hour basis based on normal and annual activity levels. In a typical year, 240,000 assembling hours will be worked by the Edward Company. So labor hours for the whole year are also given. Now we have to calculate the estimated cost of the products because we know what is the targeted cost. Now we need to calculate the expected cost and then we can compare the cost gap, right? You may pause this video and try to calculate at your own, or in case you get stuck somewhere, you may continue with this video, right? So let's calculate the expected cost. Expected cost, the first cost is component 1. This is the first cost, component 1, circuit board, right? And that is what these are bought at the rate of $4.1 each, right? So 4.1 is the cost of 1 unit of this particular circuit board, and they are bought in the batches of 4,000 units and additional delivery cost of 2,400 per batch. So how you will calculate cost per unit? Yes, we will divide 2,400 with 4,000. 0.6. And this is 0.6. 0.6 plus 4.1 is 4.7. Right? So this is cost of component 1. Now component 2. Component 2, in an ideal situation, 25 centimeters of wire is needed to complete the radio. However, there is a wastage involved there, about 2%, and the price wire cost is 0.1.5 per meter to buy. So 25 centimeters, I'm doing some working here. 25 centimeter is the normal requirement, but there is a 2% normal loss, 2% loss of cutting loss. How can you adjust this? See, there are a lot of students who think that we have to add 2% of 25 centimeter. That means what normally students think that let's take 102% of this 25 centimeter. Trust me, it's absolutely wrong. Don't do this. This is a gross up kind of concept. For example, if you input 100% of material, 2% will get lost and you will get 98% as an output. And 98% is representing 25 centimeter, right? So how much you should add in order to get 100%? 25 centimeter is what? 98%, right? So first option is that 25 centimeter is 98%, so divide it with 98 and multiply it with 100. So this is, if you want to convert with respect to percentage, you may do this, right? So 25 divided by 98 multiplied by 100, that is equals to 25.51. 25.51, right? Centimeter. Or in other words, you can also do the same question as, see, we don't know how much we should input. Let's keep unknown to be x, but whatever we will input, its 98% should be equals to what? 25 centimeter. This is another way of doing the same thing. So what will be the value of x? 25 multiplied by 100 over 98. So x will be equals to what in this case? 25 multiplied by 100 upon 98, that is still 25.51. So, and in case your answer is different, definitely you need to check your answer, right? Because I'm right, if I'm writing odd, that means both options will give you the same answer, right? So 25 centimeter is not required. Instead, you will be needing 25.51 centimeter, right? And what is the cost? Cost is around 0.5, this part, $0.5 per meter to buy, this part. So 0.5 meter is, shall we multiply this? No, there is a problem. 0.5 is for 1 meter. We don't have meter, we have centimeter. So divide it with 1000. No, centimeter में divide it with 100 and then multiply it with 0.5. Centi is for 100, na? Centimeter, cent is for 100. So 25.51 divided by 100 multiplied by 0.5. 0.127. 0.127. Let's make it 0.13. Right? Let's make it 0.13. Right? Then what? Then we have this is the second cost. We are done with this. Let me try to change the color. Okay. Now we are moving towards the third one, which is other material. Other material cost is 8.1 per radio. So you don't need to do anything. It's just 8.1 per radio. So we just add this figure. So other material is 8.1, right? And then assembling labor hour cost. We are going for working number 2. What it is saying, it says that these are skilled people, right? And we need 30 minutes of their time for one radio, right? We need 30 minutes of their time for one radio. Cost is 12.6 per hour, and we are expecting that there will be 10% of idle time, right? Again, don't take 110% of 30. It's wrong, right? We will do the same calculation here. Suppose if we are making an input of 100%, then 10% will get lost and we will get just 90%. And 90% is actually equals to 30 minutes. So what we need to do is 30 divided by 90 multiplied by 100. Right? 30 divided by 90 multiplied by 100. 33.333. Right? Or I don't know how much I should input, but whatever I input, its 90% should be equals to what? Should be equals to 30. So x will be equals to 30 multiplied by 100 over 90. X will be equal to what? 30 multiplied by 100 divided by 90. That's 33.33. And again, as I said, that if your answer is different, then you need to check your answer. So 33.33 minutes are required for the manufacturing of 1 unit of the product. And what is the wage rate? Wage rate is 12.6 per hour. It's for 1 hour, right? So per hour means you have to, 33.33 minutes divided by 60 for the conversion into hours, and then 12.6 divided by 60 times 12.6. It's 7, right? What else do we have? We have production overhead cost, right? Production overheads for month number 1 and month number 2 overheads are given. So obviously we are going to apply high-low method in this case, right? We are going for working number 3, and we will do working number 3 here, right? Number of hours are given. You may do it at your own too. 23,000 and 19,000, right? And the cost or the overheads are 700,000 at highest activity level and 620,000 cost at lowest activity level. So this will be 4,000, and change of cost will be around 80,000, right? So variable overheads will be 80,000 change in cost divided by change in activity level. So 80,000 divided by 4,000, that is equals to 20. So variable overheads are 20 per labor hour, right? Per assembling labor hour, right? Now calculate fixed cost. Total cost is equals to fixed cost plus variable cost. So let's take total cost of highest activity level because there is no step up issue. So 700,000 is the total cost. We really don't know what is the fixed cost, but we know 20 is the variable cost. Multiply by what? Multiply by 23,000, right? So let's directly calculate this. 7 lakh minus 20 times 23,000. So it's 240,000. Fixed cost is 2,40,000, right? Now, again, we cannot allocate complete 240,000 for this product because obviously we are manufacturing different types of radios in the company. So we have to absorb fixed overhead. And how we can absorb fixed overhead? We have to divide it with the number of hours. How many hours the company is expected to work for the coming year? 240,000, right? So what we are supposed to do here? We have to divide 240,000 with 240,000? No. See, again, I'm saying you the same thing. These overheads are, these fixed overheads have been extracted from monthly data, right? I said this earlier too, that whenever you extract data from a monthly, whenever you calculate fixed overhead from a monthly data, you will get monthly fixed overhead. Whenever you calculate fixed overhead by using quarterly data, you will get quarterly fixed overhead. So these 240,000 overheads are not yearly fixed overhead. These are monthly fixed overhead, right? So fixed overhead absorption rate will be equals to what? $240,000 multiplied by 12 months divided by 129 divided by 240,000, right? So the answer is 12. So fixed overhead absorption rate in this case will be 12 per hour, right? So variable overheads will be what? Variable overheads will be 20 per labor hour multiplied by how many hours? How many hours were required? This is the labor hours data. How many hours are required? We calculated as 33.33 divided by 60. See, total hours are 0.555, right? Total hours are 0.555, right? But here I just want to tell you one more thing here. See, 0.555 or 33.33 minute is the total time, right? Total time required for the product, right? Production time or active hours or productive hours are not 0.555 or 33.33. What is the productive time? Productive time is 30 minutes or zero point 0.5 hours. Now, why I'm discussing this? Because just remember my words, overheads are always, production overheads are always absorbed on the basis of productive hours. Overheads are not absorbed on the basis of idle hours. I mean, it's very simple. You are idle time means what? Idle time means company is not manufacturing anything. And if company is not manufacturing anything, if company is not manufacturing, if factory, if machinery is not working, then definitely that means production is not carrying out in that particular part phase, right? So overheads are not arising in that case. Overhead in that quantity, in that amount is not arising in that particular part. So we say that look, when you manufacture the product, when you do the work, when you are working, when you are manufacturing, only absorb overheads through the active hours. Non-active hours means you are not manufacturing the product, so your machinery is not running, your generator is not running in that with that significance. So we usually tend to ignore idle time in this case. So what we will do, what we will absorb overheads on the basis of productive time only, which is 30 minutes or 0.5 hours. So 20 multiplied by 0.5, that makes 10, and fixed overheads is 12 per hour. So 12 multiplied by 0.5, that makes 6, right? So this will be what? This is basically the expected cost of the product. Expected cost per unit. Let me try to calculate this. 4 point, oops, sorry, 4.7 plus 0.13 plus 8. It's 35.93, right? So the expected cost is 35.93, right? Expected cost is 35.93. And what was the targeted cost? Targeted cost was 35.2. So the difference is 0.73, right? Try to think, is this a cost gap? I mean, does cost gap exist in the situation? Because cost gap is when your expected cost is higher than the targeted cost. Is that the situation? Yes. I am expecting that company will manufacture this product at 35.93, right? And this 35.93 is higher as compared with 35.20. So this is basically what? This is basically the cost gap. So yes, cost gap exists. So this part is of, this requirement was of 13 marks. So in 13 marks, what you were supposed to do, you were supposed to calculate targeted cost. You were supposed to calculate targeted cost, right? Targeted cost and component cost and this one and all these costs. So there are how many things? Uh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there were 8 figures which you were supposed to calculate. And definitely there will be marks of high-low method. There will be marks of this how you are going to how you adjust this loss. Definitely examiner has kept some marks for this. So in case one or two figures get wrong, or you are unable to understand how to adjust one or two figures, it doesn't mean that your question will go wrong. You will get majority of the marks. Only a few marks will be deducted. Or in case suppose you have calculated expected cost, somehow you calculated expected cost to be let's say 35, right? And which is wrong, and your expected cost is 35, which is wrong, and the targeted cost is 35.2. And on the basis of this figure, this wrong figure, you have concluded that there is no cost gap. So still examiner will give you marks because your conclusion is right. The conclusion which you have drawn from this from these figures are right. It's basically something you actually were unable to do some calculations right. So examiner will deduct the marks which were allocated, which he has allocated for that part, for that figure. For example, this figure has been wrongly calculated by a student, and this figure is of 2 marks, right? So examiner will just deduct 2 marks for this part, and examiner will give you those marks which he has allocated for this particular requirement, right? So so this is basically its part D. Now we haven't done part C yet, right? So now, assuming that a cost gap exists, outline possible steps that the company could take to reduce these gaps, right? So let's do it one by one. Is there any problem with this? How can we reduce component one cost? If we order more units, if because see your cost gap is very you have a very low, very small cost gap, right? So I mean a very simple step can reduce or can eliminate this cost gap. You don't have to worry too much about this one, right? So this means what? If I suppose if I order more units, I mean we are ordering 4,000 units a batch. If we increase this quantity, then definitely my cost per unit, transportation cost of zero point 0.6 will get low, and this can reduce my component one cost. Ultimately, we can overall cost can be reduced, right? Wiring has an unnecessary element of wastage, 2% of unnecessary wastage. So you can train your worker so that he will not cut the wire with a long length, so that you can eliminate this loss as well. So ultimately your cost can be reduced, right? Other material we can try to buy the same raw material from some other supplier. So change of supplier change of supplier can be the idea, or in case situation allows, bulk purchasing discount can also be the idea. Bulk purchase discount can also be a good idea to reduce your material cost, right? But this part has some negative impact as well, because if you buy a lot of components in at once, then definitely your storage holding cost will increase. So if you are writing bulk purchase discount, then you have to write this part as well, that providing that storage cost will not increase so much. And then there is a 10% loss of labor time. Productive time is getting lost. So 10% losses are here. We can again try to motivate the labor. And we need to identify why there is a 10% idle time, and we can try to eliminate that issue. If there is a machine time, if there is a labor time, or if there is any other issue, we can try to sort out that problem so that we can reduce 10% of idle time wastage, right? And again, if you again ABC, if obviously company cannot adopt activity based costing here just for one product cost, but still, in case there is any other overhead which we can reduce with respect to the product, so we can. So overhead, there is not so much room in the overhead, but again, The first point we did, which we discussed, was buying more quantity in one order, more quantities per order, so that your overall cost can be reduced. Second, we discussed the training of labor so that your cost can be reduced, this wastage can be eliminated. Third, we discussed change of supplier, then change of then go for bulk purchasing discount. And the fifth thing which we identified was to identify some reason behind this 10% wastage and try to eliminate that issue, right? So this requirement was of 5 marks. So 5 marks, for 5 marks we have identified five different ways to eliminate this cost gap, right? Don't write too much here, because just one for 1 mark you just need to identify what to do, that's it. Maximum 1 mark, 2 mark explanation, not more than that, right? So that is the end of this video. I hope you got all those points which we discussed in this particular video, right? Have a nice day. Allah Hafiz.